Welcome to Show Em The Dore, the only podcast where we have now logged a collective 10 minutes of women's basketball. I am one of your hosts, Christopher Conway.
You made it sound like we played.
Oh.
So you're like, we've now played 10 minutes. They subbed
10.
us into the game is the thing.
That's why we lost.
To clarify, Chris and I have now watched a grand total of 10 minutes of women's basketball.
Collectively, and that's because we both watched 5.
Yes. It was a great time.
It was the same 5.
Love the team. I'm Willem, and I'm wearing shorts for the first time on the podcast, so feast your eyes, boys.
I wore shorts one time on the podcast.
And it was
episode 1, and it was a mistake.
Yeah,
so,
I got texts from multiple people, and they're like, tell Chris to wear pants.
My mom told me to wear pants.
My mom, my dad, everyone told me. They're like,
tell
Chris to wear pants. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm out of clean pants. I need to do laundry tonight.
I also need to do laundry, but
I'm going to have to dive into the jorts if I don't do laundry soon.
Willem has 2 pairs of jorts, the good and the bad jorts.
It's true. When I just wear my clothes until I need to wash them, because I feel like that's reasonable. And the last pair in my rotation of clothes is a pair of jorts. I keep a separate pair of jorts just in case. They're the bad jorts, and they look terrible, and I hate them. And I stole them from my older brother, Tanner. So Tanner, if you want your jorts back, no, you can't have them.
They're of legend.
They're of lore. But we've got so much.
We have so much to talk about
because it's been
we have 3 sports running and
2 weeks since we last gave regular content.
Right. We
have so many sports.
Yeah. There's the start of the baseball season. And
when I go on my monologue about Russia and Ukraine, it'll be tough.
Oh yeah, Willem has that logged in.
Yeah,
so this is gonna be a 3-hour episode. No, we're not gonna make it that long of an episode. It's gonna be very similar to a few weeks ago where we kind of blitz through some things, talk about the more important games. But we're probably gonna spend a good amount of time on baseball at first. 1, because it's a successful sport, and 2, it's because we haven't heard about it yet this year.
That's so true. Other than Spencer, if you haven't seen our hit episode
2.5.
Episode 2.5, special interview with Spencer Jones, go watch it. It's so good. And I think it's even cooler now that he's starting and successful.
He's doing really well.
Yes.
Another thing about that episode, please ignore the fact that we didn't have a third mic and Willem and I are passing it back and forth. Also, ignore the fact that it was our 3rd episode ever, and it was probably a little awkward at times.
Yeah, we've grown. It is what it is.
We've definitely grown. But the thing is, we still haven't had a single episode with a guest on where something hasn't gone wrong. Like, it ended up being okay with the Ben Cox episode. Willem, are you taking the picture for your Instagram during the pod?
Yeah.
During the Ben Cox episode, like, the episode came out fine, but the battery for the 3rd mic died right before, so there was just 30 minutes where Ardelan ran and got batteries, and we were just sitting here being like, we were talking to Ben, like, Ben's a good dude. Obviously, if you haven't seen that episode, go watch it. It's our top performing video in the span of time that it's been out.
That's, time-wise, like, it's our highest.
Well, views-wise, it is, too.
That's what I meant.
And time.
I meant to say.
And impressions. It's literally our best performing video.
Yeah, so like we're growing, and
hi to the Cox family if you're watching.
Yeah, it was so nice to have Ben on.
Ben's a
great dude. I met him in Spanish class, and he's just like a really dope guy. So I'm like, dude, get on a podcast, and he's like, dude, sick, yes.
But
he's also so tall.
He's a tall dude.
He's a tall individual.
He made you look so small.
I'm like,
this is why we put you in the taller chair.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the high chair.
Yeah. But we are trying to get other people on. I know that we've DM'd a couple different players. I didn't know much information.
Some in the works.
Yeah, I know of 3 people that we could potentially have on.
And then I think it's the time now to like
get on. I think women's basketball.
Women's basketball players, if you're out there, we're coming for you.
That's
what we do.
Interesting.
So yeah, we are going to try to line up after spring break. I forgot. We're not going to have an episode next week because we're going on spring break. If you're not a Vanderbilt student, you didn't know that. So that's my bad. We won't have an episode next week. So then we'll have to catch up again the week after. That's going to be tough.
But there's not going to be, there's going to be the Hawaii series, but after that, there isn't going to be a bunch of content.
You're correct. But after spring break, we're going to try to get as many guests and as much good stuff as possible because...
all for you guys.
We only have not that much longer in a year.
But we have all throughout April and then into May.
Shoot.
Well, we still like about to reach the halfway. We're a little bit past the halfway point, but not much past.
Yeah. What he said.
Season 2 is actually going really well. Regarding we've had like 40. We've probably had about 50 watch hours at this point for the entirety of the podcast, and we've had over half of that in the last month.
Yeah, we're on our growth arc.
So we are definitely growing as a podcast. Obviously, the ones with special guests do a little bit better than the ones without, but that's because Willem and I's devilish charm hasn't gotten through to everybody yet. But with that being said, do we have anything else?
I don't believe so. Let's kick her off.
Let's start with baseball.
Baseball.
So baseball, I guess we were, everybody knows our tragic loss at the end of the season last year. We were in the College World Series Finals versus Mississippi State, and we ended up losing 2-1. So we were just one game off of being the champions last year, and we came in preseason ranked number 3, I believe.
Yes.
Number 3. And our first game was versus Oklahoma State, who was ranked number 7 at the time.
Yes.
The only difference is Oklahoma State had a lot of transfers and they have a lot of retention with kids that have played together in the Cape Cod League. I don't know if you heard this, Willem, but during one of the broadcasts, they were talking about the fact that like 6 of the guys at Oklahoma State were on the same team for in the Cape Cod League over the summer.
Wow.
Yeah, you're only allowed to have 3, but they got so many transfers that were on the same like Cape Cod League team.
It's crazy.
That
what are the odds of that?
Yeah, and so they've already had like a little bit of continuity. Obviously, I'm trying to temper the fact that we ended up losing the series, but it wasn't bad. Like, we won the first game 3-0 because we had some outstanding pitching from Chris McIlvaine, as well as, is it Dalton Schultz? No, it's...
Charles.
No.
Charles Hindenburg.
No.
Charles Schultz is the Peanuts guy.
I was like, no. His last
name...
Thomas Schultz. Yep, that's right. As well
claims
as,
to run a podcast, doesn't even know their names.
As well as Hunter Owen.
Yes, Hunter Owen.
We had a really outstanding pitching as well as defensive night on Friday. Beat them 3-0. We came into your Saturday game with Maldonado pitching, and I was kind of hopeful for Maldo. Like, I feel like he was one of the best closers in the league last year. The only people I could put ahead of him in D1 college baseball was Kevin Kopps for Arkansas, and then his last name's Sims from Mississippi State. You know the dude that looks really old? He kind of looks like you if you were buffer and like scaled out. And then
how can you be buffer than me?
Yeah. He's a good closer and he's really good, but I thought Maldo was like number 3.
Yeah. In the country.
But he has not gotten off to the greatest start. He had a bad first start against Oklahoma State. He got pulled in, I think, the 3rd or 4th inning.
Yeah, he didn't do it this time.
And then we lost that game 4-3. So, I mean, like, he let up 4 runs in the first 2 innings, and we didn't let up a run after. We had Christian Little, I believe, come in after him. What we're doing so far in Vanderbilt baseball is we're just throwing every single pitcher out there and see who sticks.
Yep.
We may have thrown Nelson Berkwich actually after Maldo. And then game 3 it was Carter Holton, a freshman who was a dog for like 3 innings, and then he had a bad 4th and they took him out. And it wasn't even that bad of a 4th. I think he let up like 2 runs, maybe 3, which I mean I guess is it wasn't the best, but it was his first adversity moment in baseball. But he had struck out like 7 batters of the first 9. Like he
started the game really well.
He started off the game striking out 4 consecutive batters. Yeah. Like it was insane. But we lost that game. We lost that game 7-5. We tied it up actually going into the 9th inning, and 5-5. And I thought we had enough momentum to win it in the 9th. And then we let up some runs. We just didn't get any hits. So it was, not the best start to the season. We dropped to number 5 overall. But really thinking about it, that's not a big deal. We have a lot of time to make that up, as well as, I mean, if the season were to end, we still are hosting super regionals and then having a top seed going to Omaha. It's not. Number 3 to number 5 is not the biggest deal in the whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
Regarding our the questions in the field, obviously there's the pitching stuff that we've talked about. Nobody's really I think the person who cemented themselves completely as a starter is Carter Holton, and that's it.
Yeah.
McIlvain's had a good couple outings, but I think that I don't think that he has been oh my gosh, he is going to be the Friday night ace the entire season. I think Carter Holton has looked the most impressive so far.
Yeah.
I think Christian Little probably still has the best stuff. It's just, can he retain control? Or is he going to walk some random batters, and walks lose games at times? It's the pitching is a weird issue, but the other issues, not even issues, but the other questions remain in catching and then corners of our infield, because our outfield is Javi, Enrique, and Spencer Jones. They've been the same 3 the entire season so far.
They're solid.
I don't think that that's going to end. We haven't had any errors in the outfield. It just doesn't happen. Carter Young's our shortstop every game, and Tate Colwick's our second baseman. I think that's a really good middle infield. Carter has some weird error problems where he'll either try to do things too fast and miss it in his glove, or he'll try to throw really quickly and he'll throw a wide throw. But I think that Carter will get that locked up by mid-season, and he'll be one of the best defensive shortstops, as well as hopefully he gets back to pre-injury form at the plate.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to who's our third and first baseman, and that kind of ties into catching.
Yeah.
Our starting third baseman, game 1, was Parker Noland. Parker Noland, he had a good first game. Second game, he had an error and didn't have a great second game. And then his third game was fine, but he was the person that struck out at the very end when he had a guy on base. I bet he was probably thinking about that. But he's a good player. He, however, is not playing third base anymore.
True.
Davis Diaz has been our third baseman for the past, I think, 4 games. And Davis has been done well. He's solid in the field. I think he was a shortstop in high school, so he has shortstop capabilities. And whenever we shift to a left-handed batter, instead of Tate going closer to first, Carter going closer to a second baseman's natural position, and Davis going to where short is, Davis will actually just jump over Carter and go to where Carter would go in the thing.
Oh.
It's an interesting thing that showcases the belief that they have in Davis Diaz's ability to range over.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then our first baseman depends on the game, because what we've been doing with catching is game 1 will be Dominic Keegan, game 2 will be Jack Bolger, game 3 will be Dominic Keegan. And none of them are great defensive catchers. I haven't seen consistently well done throwdowns whenever runners are trying to steal, as well as it's not particularly fast. I think that will become a distinct issue when it comes to SEC play.
Yep.
I think that we got spoiled a little bit with the man, CJ Rodriguez, who is the best college catcher I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In terms of defensive.
He's good.
I miss CJ more than I miss estranged family members. He's also just a good kid. But Dominic is a lot better at hitting, obviously, than CJ was. And Jack Bolger has done really, really well hitting this year. But the defensively, the catcher position scares me a bit.
Yeah.
And then whenever Dom's catching, it's been first base has been a little bit of a carousel. It started off Jonathan Vastine started at first base.
Yeah.
He's a good defensive player.
That's his specialty.
Yeah,
they got him because of his ability in
the field. Yeah, he's good defensively. Man had no offensive game.
Yeah.
And then the other two that have been there are, other than Dominic Keegan, I think we've had
Parker.
Parker has definitely been at first, and he's he's done well at first, but he's had some bad throws to him, which has kind of messed him up a bit. And then I think we've also had we've had Tate on first, I think, at one point. Not for very... it gets a little weird when we go to the midweek games when they sub a bunch of people in. I think we've, technically Gavin Casas has been at first.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're actually training him to be at first. I think that it's just we're getting as many people in the field, giving them experience as possible, so that we can see how we can progress when we eventually will need to. Regarding hitting, our batting order generally goes Enrique. It started off like Enrique, Javi, Spencer Jones, Dominic Keegan, Parker, Carter Young, Tate Kolwick, and who am I missing? Bastien was in the 9 hole.
Yeah, Parker.
I already said Parker.
Did you?
And then I'm sorry. Javi goes 8, and Jack Bolger was DHing at 2. At this point, Davis Diaz has jumped up into that 2 spot to let the power that Jack Bolger has. We go a little bit closer to a cleanup spot. Our hitting, in terms of our lineup, has been really, really good. And outside of that Oklahoma State game where it felt like, we scored 3, 4, and then 5. If we can get into our prime hitting, I feel like we have a good chance of winning a lot of games. Because since then, we've played, obviously the midweek games will score a lot because it's much lesser competition. And we've had another series against Army that we swept, but we scored 10, 7, and 9 or something in those games.
Yeah.
And so, if you score, close to double-digit runs, you win a lot of games.
True.
And I think that right now, our lineup having hitters, even with the people who I didn't expect to be slumping are, though.
Yeah.
Enrique doesn't have a great batting average. Dominic doesn't have a good batting average. Carter doesn't have a good batting average. And I feel like those 3 are, really key parts of our batting order. But they're being made up for right now by people like Javi, who is hitting really, really well. Spencer Jones, who is hitting really, really well. And Davis Diaz, who has an on-base percentage of 60% right now. Yeah. Davis Diaz, over the course of 2 games, had a 1 batting average just because he kept getting walked or, reaching on errors or hitting random singles. He is I will get on base whenever he's up to bat. And it's, as a freshman, knowing that we have him for at least 2 more years,
yeah,
it's really, really nice. But yeah, baseball has been good. We play Hawaii in a 4-game series. There hasn't really been anything super of note since the Oklahoma State games. We've won every other game, but we haven't been playing anybody really great.
Yep, Evansville, Army, and Central Arkansas.
Yeah.
So we're about playing nobody.
The only thing that I'm concerns, again, just to recap, are who is going to emerge as starting pitching, and can Maldo lock it up? If he does, I think that will help us tremendously. Or if not, I think we throw Devin Futrell in and then give Maldo a long closer role, which I think is fine. I think if Maldo comes in and he just gets you 6 through 9,
perfect.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. And then who is going to lock down first in catching spots? And once we get into SEC play, is catching going to be okay? Because I have a feeling that with SEC speed, we might get ran on a lot.
Yeah.
So how about you do women's basketball, and then I'll do men's, since I just talked for a long time.
Yeah. We don't want the listeners at home to have to hear Chris's voice. It's dangerous in high quantities.
Yeah, it's actually really
we scientists have done studies on it.
Yeah, it's bad.
But so just before the podcast started, my dad texted me. He said,
"No way.
What is the coldest letter in the alphabet?" And I didn't know what it was going to be, and he just texted me back. Do you want to know what he said?
Was it B?
How'd you know?
Because I looked it up.
It's B because it's between the AC.
I've heard because it's surrounded by AC is what I saw online.
That's funny. That's not his best.
That's not a good joke.
His best, hold on. The best one. This was last year he gave
This is the intermission of the podcast.
Yeah, this is where we get into our nothing content.
The nothing content is a good content.
It's literally the best.
But while Willem's looking at that, I will say we do hope to get some actual baseball players on the pod at some point. You know, baseball is easily, regarding recent history, our most successful sport that will have, like, you know, like Spencer Jones we had on the podcast. That man's probably going to the MLB. Whereas, you know, like, it's a greater probability than our other teams at the present moment. Though I think that's going to start changing with Stack and Clark Lee getting our boys into the leagues or the association. Sorry.
Yeah. The first one. On August 27th, 2020, my father texted me, "Hey, did you know ants never get sick?" And I said, "What? That's impossible," because I didn't get it was a joke at first. And then he said, "They have very little antibodies."
That's not a good joke
I said,
either.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me.
It's just because he got you.
It's funny. And then there was another one, a better one later. But so women's basketball.
How many games have we had?
A lot. I'm not gonna cover all of them.
No, we're
simply
not.
because we don't have time.
No.
But
cover the game that we just watched.
We ended the season with, you know, a couple games. Most notably, we beat number 15 Florida at home.
Woo!
That was senior night. It was a really big game.
Yeah.
And we beat them by 4, so like it wasn't like down to the last second. Like it was a nice win. Then we lost to Alabama, beat Texas A&M. We lost to Alabama. Then we entered the SEC tournament, right?
Yes.
SEC tournament. First round versus Texas A&M, terrible team. We beat them 84-69.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They suck.
They're awful.
So then they announced the season awards.
Oh yeah.
I don't have them pulled up right now, but I can get them momentarily.
I know what most of them. I know what all of them are.
Really?
Yeah.
We had 2 all-freshman teams
And then
team
one
members.
all defense.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So
So in our all SEC freshman team, we have 2 players.
2?
One of which wears number 23, and the other one wears 35. Who are they? Will?
Yes, sir. So on the SEC all freshman team, number 23, we have Ayanna Moore. We've been saying it for a long time. She's simply the best. I think she's going to be our best player starting next year, and she's going to continue to be our best player from here on out. Sorry, I have sniffles. And then a little bit of surprise to me, also on the all freshman team, Sasha Washington
With a C.
with a C. Sasha. She's dope. We see her at the dining hall every once in a while.
Yeah.
She came off the bench like the whole year, and she's had a couple really good games. Like I think she put up 26 a couple games ago.
Really?
She gets nice
has
points,
buckets.
Nice rebounds.
Can't
She's a
shoot
good.
free throws.
No, she can't shoot free throws. It's okay though. Not most of them can. Most of them can't rather. She's a good paint presence coming off the bench, because that's one thing that we kind of don't have. Mm-hmm. We have guards coming off the bench like Bella LeChance stretching the floor and Ayanna Moore going 1-on-1 with a lot of people, but we didn't have for a long time like a really solid interior presence off the bench, and Sasha Washington has established herself as that, especially in the later bit of this season. So she did really well in that. Besides that, we had an all-defensive, SEC all-defensive team. And, you know, the obvious one, Naismith, defensive player candidate. And it's number 3, Jordan Cambridge. She's simply our best player. She might not put up the most points. That would be Brene. Mm-hmm. But she is an absolute leader on our team.
And she got robbed of an absolute bucket in the game that we just watched.
It was horrible. I'm like, what is this?
Oh, okay. Spoiler alert. We played Florida again after beating Texas A&M in the championship.
Yeah, in the, I think, Wait, what do you call it?
Second round?
Yeah, second round.
In the
second round of the SEC tournament.
And we were up like 14 in the third quarter. We had been losing since then, and it came down to like the final seconds. We ended up losing by I think 1 on a really bad inbounds play and another really bad call that wasn't a foul before that. That's not the point though. But earlier in the game, Jordan Cambridge got an absolute amazing on-ball steal, and she was like, obviously running down the floor to go get that like a layup, and she did like a jump stop, get yourself in the lane, get contact for an and one, and she got a lot of contact by somebody that was running behind her and made contact with her, and they called it a charge, and I couldn't believe it. I know Shay Ralph was going crazy. She just said what and how to the ref. It was the worst call in maybe all of basketball.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I've never seen a worse call, and I've only watched 5 minutes of women's basketball.
So true.
I've never been heated about women's basketball until then. I was like, there's no way that's a foul. There's no way that was a charge. It was definitely a blocking foul. She should have had 2 points, and that would have won us the game, assuming that she made at least one of them, and then it would have. Anyway, not the point. But I was frustrated because it was a good play by Jordan Cambridge.
Her nice steal too.
Yeah, it was a beautiful steal.
She got a nice steal. Girls crossing over, no, she just gets right in between there, takes the ball, going. She's got a lane. People come around her and get in front of her, and they call it an offensive foul.
That it's just not an offensive foul.
Like, it just doesn't make sense logistically within basketball to happen. But that was disappointing, and then we ended up losing the game, and that was kind of a pivotal moment. So that sucked. So, spoiler alert, we lost to number 23 Florida in the SEC tournament. Makes sense. I mean, they're number 23.
Yeah, but
they're going to go far in the tournament. But we had such a chance. We led almost the whole game, didn't we?
We led every second of the game minus the final 8.
Yeah, it sucked. And then that horrible inbound play.
Nothing got
done. We ran maybe with 2 minutes left. We ran a beautiful inbound play. Sasha Washington comes around the baseline, gets it, and then just puts it in the basket.
She got it was a screen she screened, sealed her person off, got a beautiful layup.
It was so easy and simple. Run that play again.
That's what they set up in before
any sort of play.
That's what they set up in before Florida called their timeout. Mm-hmm. And then they set up in a different formation, and then they didn't even get the ball in.
Nobody made decisions. They get the ball to the other team.
It was just not.
It was not a good time. It was overall questionable antics to end of the game, but I think overall this year was a great success.
Yeah, great success.
Great success.
But
new coach, some young talent on the team, doing well. You know what I mean?
Doing good things.
This is not horrible. We went 14-17. That's not bad.
No,
not by any means, especially for Vanderbilt, who fired their coach last year.
If Stack wins the next game versus Ole Miss, you'll be 15-15 in year 3.
Exactly.
That's
in year 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a couple recruits coming in next year that I think are fairly highly touted.
Yeah, I mean Shay Ralph from UConn probably gets some.
Yeah, she
probably gets some players.
She gets players.
Player named Shay.
Yes. So you hate to see it, but that's just how it goes, and that's the way the season ends.
That's the way life goes.
That's just how life goes, to quote Lil Baby. So it was tough, but we're proud of them. Really did a great job, and it was fun to follow the season, though I could never go to any games because I always had stuff scheduled at the same time. It was weirdly consistent, and then we just watched the first bit just now. But
yeah.
So is the way of that. That's basketball.
That is basketball,
and we're going to try to get some of them to come on the podcast.
We should try Jordan Cambridge first.
Yes, because she's a unit. Talk to y'all about it. It'll be really fun. So expect more women's basketball content going forward. But for now, that's all. So, Chris, would you bring us home?
I'll bring us home on men's basketball.
Men.
I'm also going to keep this one kind of short. We played 4 games so far, and it was Texas A&M, Alabama, Mississippi State, and Florida. And One problem that I will say, I have a singular gripe with Scottie Pippen Jr.
And it's obvious. It's blatant.
And if he can't...
It's horrible.
For being an elite scorer, he can't shoot free throws. He's like a 74% free throw shooter.
Maybe.
And that was before like the last couple games. I think he went 2 for 6 in our last game versus Florida.
Yeah.
And the thing is if he makes it... What happened, like we ended up losing by more than 4, but he makes those. It doesn't... We don't lose by more than 4. We'll get to that in a second. Starting with Texas A&M, we just beat the heck out of Texas A&M. It was senior night. It was nice. It was good. There's nothing really of note. Scottie Pippen had 24. His average. I think he averaged like 23.
Yeah.
So then we had Alabama, and it was our it was a ranked game. They're number 24. It was at Memorial. We were feeling good about the game.
Why wasn't that senior night?
I don't know.
It was the blackout night, though. I know that much.
Yeah, but we ended up losing 74-72.
Oh.
And it's frustrating because coming down to the end, we could not guard Javon Quinterly. Quinterly is so fast.
Yep.
He's so fast.
His name is Quinterly. It just makes sense.
And nobody could guard him. And it was just like we were down by a lot, and we came back the entire second half, and we just couldn't get it done in the very end. We ran out of gas, but it was a really good game, and we were even like leading at a couple points, I think. And we had opportunities to win. We just didn't do it, which is, I think still encouraging. Even if I think that next year, if Scottie Pippen stays, it will be kind of really good.
Yeah. Because
he'll be, a senior, finishing what he started. I don't know if we really lose anybody except probably Chapman. And
Rodney.
I love Rodney.
He's replaceable though.
Yeah, but
he's not our.
I love Rodney. I think he could be if he stayed.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has another year of eligibility.
I don't think he does.
If he does, though.
Did we look this up?
I don't remember.
I'll look it up.
Because
he might have 2 years.
If Rodney has another year of eligibility and he stays and Scottie stays, it will be a really, really, really good thing. I think we'll be I think there's a chance we could be a top 25 team. I think we'll end up winning the games like Alabama, like the last Florida game. We beat LSU. We had like a ranked win. I think we start stringing together those wins, and I think that it overall goes very, very well.
Yep.
I wonder if you could get a medical red shirt based on the fact that
probably. This is an article from last year. It says former Dayton guard Rodney Chapman announced Saturday via his Instagram that he committed to Vanderbilt for his final year of eligibility. So this would normally be his last year, but if he takes a medical red shirt,
if he is granted a medical red shirt, if he even applies for it,
yeah. So if he,
that would be really nice.
247sports.com says no. I gotta turn off my ad blocker, dang it.
Okay, with that being said, we're gonna move on in the men's basketball. We then played Mississippi State, and we were a better team than Mississippi State. We lost though, and it's because we played awful in the early game. We were down like 15 in the first half, and then we were leading in the second half. Like it's almost like the exact opposite of what would happen early in the season, where it felt when I complained about Jerry Stackhouse's coaching, it was because we were playing well and getting like a few point lead in the first half, and then it'd be going all downhill in the second.
Yep.
Now I think Jerry Stackhouse is coaching really well, but our first halves just aren't. That like we're just not making shots. Like it's not even that we're not getting open shots; we're just not making them.
Yeah. And
so we lost to Mississippi State, and that brings us to Florida, which I still feel like I don't think we were going to the tournament at that point, but unless we had make like a really, really deep run in the SEC tournament. But beating Florida would have given us a chance to potentially get a single bye. And we were beating Florida all game, and we had like a 6-point lead with a minute and a half left, and I was like, okay, that's pretty much it. And then we turned the ball over a couple times on inbounds plays, and I was like, oh no. And it ended up being 80-78 Florida with like 7 seconds left or something like that. And Scottie Pippen got the ball, drove down the court, and he got fouled. And with like 6 seconds. And so he went to the free throw line, and Scottie makes those 2 points. We probably go to overtime. Something happens. Scottie bricked the first one, and then we fouled them. They scored 2, and we didn't even get our score off. So we lost by 4. But Scottie Pippen was like 2 for 5 or 2 for 4 from the free throw line that night, and if he makes those, I mean, we win that game. It's just that simple. And Scottie, like, you can say, oh, if he makes a shot, but Scottie Pippen Jr., with how elite of a scorer he is, needs to be at least 85 from the free throw line. There is no reason why a scorer like Scottie Pippen Jr. is shooting 74%. And 74 is rounded up from 73.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's probably at about 73 at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you can't miss 27 out of every 100 free throws when you're...
Not when you're trying to be a successful scorer. And he doesn't have many other, like, standout components to his game. Like, yeah, he's solid on defense. He can move the ball well. Scoring's his thing.
Yeah, he has one of the best layup packages I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Man is an elite mid. The reason why it's so confusing is because he's an elite mid-range scorer too.
Yeah.
Like his little turnarounds in the paint where he's like posting some guard up are really, really nice. Like I think 3-point is his weakest like normal part of his game, and even that's not bad.
Yeah, not as bad as his free throws.
And it's so confusing
for a bona fide scorer. Like he leads the SEC in points per game.
Right, and imagine if he
hit free throws.
He's leading the SEC in points per game while shooting 73% from
imagine
the free
if he
throw
shot
line.
83.
That's
another point or 2 a game.
That's another like 2 points a game.
Yeah, simple. Because he draws fouls like
he draws fouls at like the 4th best clip in the nation. Like,
and he shoots free throws at like the 220th best in the nation.
Which is
that's just a random number I made that up.
It's just we win that Florida game, and then if we won that Florida game, there was a decent chance we moved up into the top 10 in the SEC, which would have given us a single bye in the tournament. And we obviously are nowhere close to a double bye, but having that single would have been nice.
More rest, and then you get a worse team.
Yeah, it's... But we play Ole Miss, and then we go to the SEC tournament, and I think that... I don't know how the NIT works, but I would like to believe that we would get an NIT bid.
Yeah, I think if the logic of the NIT is just the next best teams...
Is that what it is?
I assume it is. I actually, to be honest, I'm a Gonzaga fan. I've never had to worry about the NIT. Like my whole life.
Yeah.
But I assume that how the NIT works. Do you have my... Oh, dude, it just opened for you. That's crazy. My computer just let him in. No security. Thanks, Apple. So the NIT, I assume, is just like the next, I think, 32 best teams. But I'm not fully sure. I'd have to assume we're top 90.
Is it 32?
I think.
Keep talking.
Basketball. Yeah, so if we do make it there, I think we can have a legitimate run in there. Like, of non-tournament teams, we're solid. I want to say we're ranked in the 70s in most...
Okay, it says, the NIT features a 32-team field chosen right after the NCAA chooses the 68 teams in its tournament. It awards automatic bids to regular season conference champions who did not otherwise go to the NCAA tournament.
I didn't know.
Also, the first 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament become automatic 1 seeds in the NIT.
Huh.
The CBI features 16 teams, and the CIT has up to 32 teams from exclusively mid-major leagues or lower. I don't know what the CIT is. I'm gonna look at projected NIT tournament. 20.
Yeah, to see if we're in there. Because if it's only mid majors, we're not. We're in the SEC. Like the only I watched one NIT game for like maybe 5 seconds, and it was Harvard versus Georgetown, and Harvard won the tip, airballed a 3, Georgetown got the rebound and fell out of bounds, and it was the most NIT moment I've ever seen in my life. But I'd have to assume we'd make it. We're a solid team. I'd love to see us in the NIT in any sort of tournament where, look, you got 3 viruses on my computer. So, I'd love to see us there. I think we could genuinely do well because we have a solid team, especially if Chapman comes back. I read, and it does not look like he will be eligible for another year. Even if he were to try to get a red shirt, it wouldn't happen. So this is it for him. So if we do get to use him in a postseason tournament like that, that'll be nice. It'll be a big building thing for our coach and for our team and Scottie Pippen and everybody. Because when was the last time we went to the NCAA tournament?
A long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. None of these guys have been there. So going to any sort of tournament would be really good for them.
So here's what the NIT tournament bracket predictions are right now. It is VCU, VTech, SMU, and Florida as 1 seeds.
Florida.
Belmont, UAB, St. Bonnie's, and Dayton as 2.
UAB.
3, Oklahoma, St. Louis, Colorado, Oregon. 4, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Missouri State, Santa Clara.
Texas A&M?
We're
so much better than Texas A&M.
Yeah, I don't know. 5 seeds, Fresno State. The thing is okay, wait. This is, I think, for last year. No. When did this come out? It says Texas A&M. It says Texas A&M are 17 and 13.
They're not.
Missouri State. We're not on this right now, but I feel like we should be.
Grand Canyon? No way. Rutgers? Let me see this.
But
so we're desperately trying to figure out if we'll be in there.
I would like to be in there.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So this was updated on March 3rd at 8:35 a.m. That's today.
Oh wow. And we beat Texas A&M by 5.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, maybe we'll make it to the NIT. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I think we'd do well.
Yeah, look at these bum teams. Like Bryant, is not even in a school. Cleveland State, Longwood, Rutgers, WSU, Washington State, Santa Clara.
Yeah.
I'd have to imagine we're better than Santa Clara, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Missouri State.
We won't have to worry about it if we win the SEC tournament.
True. That's so true. If we just win this tournament, we will be in
the NCAA
tournament. But yeah.
So I guess with that being said, I think that's all we have for today.
That's all we got.
We're gonna miss you guys next week, but we hope to have more guests on, and then having like kind of episodes like this where we kind of blitz through some stuff, talk about some normal stuff.
Yeah, I'll be posting a lot of clips this next week of our old videos onto the Instagram. So if you want to go on there, reminisce about the good old days
when we weren't nearly
this
fluid.
Yeah, like we're comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
But as always, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We love you.
Yeah.
We love you.
So, with that being said, thank you, Willem. This has been Show Em The Dore, and we'll see y'all in a couple weeks. Bye.
But the Griddy towards the camera.
So right foot left. We're keeping this in.